Math. All right, here we go. We are starting our new lesson for our new module 13. We're looking at volume of cylinders, cones, and spheres. Today, we're going to focus on just how to find the volume of a cylinder. Okay, so this is our formula that you are going to need. And we're going to go into that here in a minute to kind of break it down so that it's easier to remember. All right, so the volume of a cylinder is basically like a prism, except that instead of a square or triangle or a different shaped bottom, it has a circle base or bottom. Okay, so it's like a can or a Pringles tube. But basically, in order to find the volume of a cylinder, you're going to take its radius, okay, find the area of the base, so that's why we needed to know the area of a circle, and then times that by the height. Okay, so if you're writing things down, you're going to write down your formulas right here. So a lot of the times, this is the formula they show for any kind of prism or cylinder, is the area of whatever the base is times the height. But in our case, our base is a circle. So pi r squared is the formula for area of a circle. So you're just going to find the area of this circle and times it by its height. It's actually pretty simple, but you need to know how to find the pieces that you need and plug them into that calculator easily. Okay, so kind of laying out why this works. So think of like the cylinder base having this one, we're going to say this is like a measurement of 1 unit high. Okay. What we're really doing is taking a circle, the area of the circle, and then we're stacking them on top of each other to make this cylinder. And so that's why you're really just finding the area of the circle, and then you're timesing it by how many of these circles are stacked on top of each other. So let's try. So here is a cylinder, and we're going to go ahead and use 3.14 for pi, and we're going to use our formula and find its volume. So I'm going to write out my formula. Area of a cylinder is pi r squared times the height. Okay, we know pi is 3.14. The radius of the cylinder is 3 squared, and its height is 10. And then I'm just using a calculator, guys. We need to do order of operations. That means we need to do our exponent first. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 squared first. That's 9. So if I'm writing out my steps, I now have 3.14 times 9 times 10. And now I'm just going to multiply it out. Okay, I know 9 times 10 is 90. And so on my calculator, and I could have done that on my calculator if I needed to, but on my calculator, I'm going to do 3.14 times 90. And you're going to get 282.6 inches. And remember, volume is cubed because it's 3-dimensional. So when we're labeling these shapes, we're always going to use inches, units, feet, whatever it is, but cubed. Okay, that's super important that we label our shape correctly. And that's it, guys. That's it. Some shapes might give you a diameter instead of a radius. So you just have to make sure you can discover what the radius is by dividing by 2. But we're going to go through these practice problems. Make sure you're writing these down. And then you get to practice on your own. So here's the volume of another one. And this one does give us the diameter. Okay, so I'm going to do, again, my area formula. Pi r squared times the height. Now here, this is my diameter. So I have to take 6.4 and divide it by 2 to make my radius. So my radius is 3.2. Okay, so now I'm going to fill in my equation. I'm going to do 3.14 times 3.2 times 13. Okay, and I'm going to just do that on my calculator. Okay, so let me get us there. Okay, so I'm going to do 3.2 squared, because we do our exponents first. Whoops, I forgot the square here. So I'm going to get 3.4 or 1/4 times, where'd my calc? 10.24. And you want to just use, unless it is kind of a crazy long one, you want to use all of the decimal points while you're multiplying. It'll give you a more accurate answer. Okay, so now I'm going to put that into my calculator. So 10.24 times 13 times 3.14, and I'm going to get 417. And then notice that in my problem up here, it wants us to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, and I've noticed that we've been struggling a bit on our tenths. So write this down, especially if you're someone who struggles, okay? So here's my number, 3 point, and then after the decimal point, there are spaces for numbers, right? So like 2, 6, 5. The first decimal place is your tenths, okay? That means that when I go to round, I'm going to look at my tenths. I'm going to go 1 to the right. If this number is 5 or greater, okay, whoops, then I'm going to round up. So this number would actually round to 3.3. Okay, if I have another example, okay, here's my another example. Here's my tenths again. I'm going to look to the right, and I'm going to say if this is 4 or less, okay, then I'm going to round down. So this number would be 3.2. So let's look at our calculator again to see how we're going to round. So it wants us to the tenth, so we're looking at this number right here, the one number after the decimal point. I'm going to look to the right. Oh, that's a 9. That's bigger than 5, so I'm going to round up. When I round up, this 9 becomes a 10, which means that this actually becomes 4.8. 4.18, sorry. That's what our thing is actually going to be. So this, let me change my pen. This would be my answer. And again, we're doing centimeters cubed. All right, so now we have a word problem. So we have a cylinder in real life. This is Big Bertha, which is the big drum that's in the University of Texas Longhorn Band. This is just from your textbook. But our drum, in case you were curious, it is in the shape of a cylinder. So it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but we can kind of draw a cylinder by drawing a circle on top, lines down, a curved area in the back, and then a dotted curved area in the back. So this is our Big Bertha, and it says that it has a diameter all the way across of 8 feet, and it's 4.5 feet deep. So that is depth. And we need to find the volume of this drum. Okay, same things. I'm going to go ahead. I have a diameter. So because 8 is my diameter, I'm going to divide it by 2. 4 is my radius. Area is 3.14 times my radius squared times my height, 4.5. And I'm just typing that into my calculator. Okay, so we're going to clear this up. 3.14. Oh, wait. Nope. I got to do my exponents first. 4 squared times 3.14 times 4.5. Okay, so I'm going to get 226. I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. So that would be, I look here at my tenths place, I go over to the right one, that's 5 or bigger, so I'm going to go up. So this is going to be 226.1. 0.1, and we're in feet cubed. That is my volume. Okay, another one here. This one has no picture. You are always welcome to kind of sketch out your picture if it helps you. Here's my little sketch of a cylinder. It says, oh, we're going the opposite way this time. It says the volume of my drum is 144 times pi. That is what my answer is. Okay, and I know that the height of the drum is 4 inches, but I don't know what the diameter is. So we're actually going to work backwards. This is where our solving equations comes in handy. So I'm going to say 144 pi equals, and I'm just using my formula, pi r squared h. So 144 pi equals pi times, I don't know my radius, times my height. Okay, so we're going to start eliminating things on both sides in order to solve for r, and then we can solve for the diameter. So because this is in the form of pi, I can divide both sides by the symbol of pi, and that will cancel it out. Just like if I were to divide both sides, if my problem was 3 times, or 3a equals a, I don't know, 2a. If I divide both sides by a, right, they kind of cancel out and you're left with 3 equals 2. I can do the same thing with a symbol. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi. That cancels out my pi symbol. And the reason they use a symbol and not 3.14 is because, remember, pi is actually really, really, really long. It goes on forever and ever, and it never ends. So after I divide by pi, I'm going to get 144 times r squared times 4. I want r all by itself. This is the one I want alone. So I'm going to get rid of the 4. I'm going to divide both sides by 4 so that I can have r squared all by itself. So 144 divided by 4 is 36. So I'm going to have 36 equals r squared, because these guys cancel out. Now we just came off of Pythagorean theorem, so we know that to undo a square, we're going to do the square root. So if I square root both sides, we should know that 36, square root of 36 is 6. So my radius is 6. But is it asking for the radius? No, it's asking for the diameter. So I'm going to need you now to take your radius, times it by 2, and that's going to equal your diameter. So my diameter is 12 inches. Ooh. That is our answer for this one. So you have to see that the beginning of this is super simple. So they start to throw in things like doing the opposite, giving you volume and having you solve for the missing piece. Okay, but we need to make sure that we understand how to find volume in general. So go ahead and do these two on your own right now. Pause the video, do these 2 problems in your notes, and then come back and see if you got them right. All right, hopefully you did these on your own so that you can pause that video so you can check and see if you're right. But on this one on the left, they give me a diameter, so I divided that by 2 to find my radius. I used my formula and plugged in my numbers. I squared 5 first and got 25, and then I just used a calculator to find my answer. Remember, you have to have inches cubed or feet cubed. Your units need to be cubed in order for volume to be done correctly. Then on the right here, I did the same thing. They gave me radius, so I did 4 squared. That's 16. Multiplied all this together, and I got 602.9 feet cubed. And that is solving volume for cylinders. So I hope that works out for you, and let me know if you have any questions.